Thank you for coming today.
You're welcome.
To LA in general.
I made the trip only to be on the podcast. Lifelong dream, really.
Yeah, this is your first podcast, yeah?
Yeah. Frequent listener, first time guest.
Yeah, frequent listener. What kind of shows
caller.
do you listen to?
Okay. My dad was the sound guy at church, and he'd always be like, "You got to get up on that mic. You got to get up on that mic."
That's so funny.
So, as someone who, I was the lead in 6th grade, Dr. Newhart's Neck Up Checkup. The lead.
That's a play?
Neck up, check up.
The lead.
The lead. Yeah. Dr. Newhart herself. And gender twisting. I think that they definitely meant it to be a man. So really revolutionary. Pretty much on the front
Just
line.
you're versatile, you know.
Lines, yeah.
Yeah.
You're versatile. Thank you so much.
So you're visiting from Indiana.
Yes.
Indianapolis.
Naptown.
Where you guys both
Circle
lived,
City.
but not at the same time.
No, we did live there at the
Briefly.
same time. Very briefly.
Yeah,
We
it was
were
just
like
a little
ships in the
tease.
night.
No, it wasn't ships in the night. It was like I moved there. Sometimes people are just like, "You're going to move to Indianapolis." And you're like, oh, well, yeah, okay. Well, one of my good friends lives there. And then she just leaves you in the dust.
The only good part left.
Yeah, she's gone. She's long gone.
I'm sorry, Indianapolis. I'm so sorry. No, I'm really sorry to you. We've been through this before. It weighs heavy
I don't
on
know how
me.
many years I was campaigning to get Christina to Tucson. And then
And
I
then
moved to Indianapolis, and then she moved to Tucson.
Oh,
3
okay.
months, 4 months later, 5 months.
Was it?
6
Yeah,
months.
it was like probably.
rough.
It was definitely less
It was
than a year.
true tragedy, though.
But
It
you
was
first
rough.
met in college, right?
We first met in college.
In Tucson.
By way of Carano.
Is
Really?
I mean, no, we had a mutual friend before that.
Yeah, but the only reason I needed a roommate. My friend was like, well, there's a girl I know who likes the yeah, and so do you. So maybe you guys would hit it off.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
makes me happy.
what brought us together.
It really and kept us together.
Yeah, truly. She was my patron saint. That's the only
She
way.
is. I literally worship her.
Same.
Like, that's like what my faith lies in.
It felt like a...
It's like a religion.
It's her.
I remember when you saw them on the Mosquito tour, and it was like a pilgrimage. I felt like we were like preparing for it, like it was going to be a spiritual journey.
It was really.
How many times have you seen them?
I think I've only seen them once.
That one time?
But it was so perfect. It was like right after they released It's Blitz.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw them at the Marquee Theater in Tempe, Arizona, and came up for the show. It was rad.
Do you remember we used to listen to It Splits all the time in my convertible Bug,
Yeah.
my Volkswagen, my light blue Bug?
I remember like being on the windy roads of Mount Lemmon and like blasting It's Blitz.
Same.
Is that your favorite Yeah Yeah Yeahs album?
I mean,
For me, it's Fever to Tell is like, that's the
Fever-
one. That is
Fever
the
to
Yeah
Tell.
Yeah Yeahs album.
Well, that's where it
Really, like,
began.
Sugar Bones, though. That was. I think that was like the first thing that I listened to by them. So just like soft spot.
And then you
See, that's
gifted
Fever to
me
Tell for
later
me.
on. You gifted me Crush songs,
I
which was like a less
did.
popular album, but I super loved it, and I
Yeah.
love having that in my car. Yeah, you're like my music pal. I don't
Man,
really
get up on that
swap
mic.
tunes with a lot of
Oh,
people.
I'm so sorry. I'm doing my father so to shame right now.
It's not a
No,
huge
no.
deal anyway. I just was mostly
I
doing
should
that as a
know
joke.
better, though.
But the more up on it, the cooler your voice
Jump
sounds.
on it.
Okay.
Jump
But then I
on
have
it.
to be like, am I gonna go for the vocal fry?
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Oh my
So
God.
you grew up playing the piano in church, but did you didn't sing like in a choir in church? Did you?
I did it all, honey bun.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because you mentioned the theater, but
Yeah, I was president of the children's choir at church. Yeah.
As a child yourself?
Yeah.
back to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my pluses about, I think, growing up in church is it's a pretty musical experience. You're singing every Sunday, you know?
Definitely.
So,
I guess
I'm
you were in
music
the
after a
choir
while.
too in college. Like, what am I even saying?
what?
You were in a choir in college too, right? For the
Oh,
church, or
well,
what were you doing? 'Cause you were
I played piano for the liturgy for the one of the churches on campus.
Presbyterian church.
Oh, wow.
Lutheran church.
Lutheran.
So
Damn
you
it,
can
I'm
like
so bad at
sight
this game.
read
Yeah.
piano, sheet music.
Yeah, I'm
Fairly well.
classically trained and then
She's, like,
creatively
a
not very
genius.
good.
When did the classical training start for piano?
You're humble.
Like 3rd grade, grade school.
Right. And then just through like high school or something?
Yeah, I think my parents like put me in, and I don't know if they expected it to stick or not, because I feel like everyone took piano lessons, and
Yeah,
I
I
just
did.
was obsessed with it. So
Nice.
Okay, what's the word? I'm probably transpose. You would like you can see a song like you can just it's really cool when you jam out transcribe or transpose.
No, I would have to transpose because it'd be on the wrong. It would be on the wrong key, and so
Right.
I'd be
okay.
trying to do that.
And Amanda will just sit there and I'll be like, "Can we do this song?" And then she'll be like, "Yeah," and then she'll pull it up and be like, "Oh, wait." And then you give her a few minutes and she's like transposing it to the
see.
key that I can
Well,
sing
sometimes it'd work, but sometimes it's just like I don't know. It depends on how much you're gonna go up or down. But there was a while when I could, yeah.
and how many wine bottles in
That's
we are
true.
probably.
So you guys, how I first heard about you was that was this in Indiana where you guys would meet up, or this is Tucson? She was like,
This
me
is
and
in
my friend
Tucson.
Amanda would just stay up late and she'd play piano and we would sing songs. That was like your singing fix.
That was like the
you know?
beginning of. I had never really sang with anybody else other than Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely like the ripping of the Band-Aid, like just go for it moment for me. So thanks for that.
welcome.
But yeah, Amanda like got a great job after college. She's like a civil engineer and she got a big girl job and like you treated yourself. That was like, you're like, I want to do something big for myself. Do you guys want to come help me pick out a piano?
Yeah, I knew that's
Wow.
what I did with my first check was I wanted to buy a piano, and so we went on this like wild ride to this like very random piano dealer who restored historic pianos, and so we like went with him to his like strange warehouse where there are all these like beautiful like sad old pianos with this I assume incredible stories behind all of them, and picked one of them out.
So many
What was it
secrets.
about the one you picked that made that be the one?
I kind of said my price point. He had me play a couple, and it was just like kind of a Goldilocks situation.
Nice.
And yeah, and it came home with not that day. I think it got delivered.
Yeah, because we went to like the pool.
He was
that
real
day. We had a
eccentric
pool day.
though. Yeah.
That was a fun time. And yeah, then that piano took over our, photo wall in our house and like that moved in and it was just dinner parties were never
piano
the
karaoke
same.
every night after that. Yeah.
Do you know the story behind the piano you chose, like the history of it, or how old it is, or who built it, or anything like that?
I'm sure I've kind of Googled the make on it, but it's nothing that I recognize.
Okay.
Not that that means anything, but I don't think I don't know. I just felt a connection with it or something
cool.
at the
That's
cool.
time.
I've seen, would you ever paint it? I've seen some on like social media and they paint them like
I
bright
would
yellow or, like,
normally,
blue or something.
I would normally absolutely not, but there was someone who came over to tune it, like in the last year, and he said that it's like on its way out. He just like isn't holding a tune anymore, and so now it's like it deserves like a fun little life before I
yeah.
kind of upgrade to something
There you go.
else.
You're
It's
slightly
my
less
first
attached.
piano.
It's like when a grandma like just like dyes her hair blue,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. And so how often are you playing now?
Not often anymore, but I was trying to play. I mean, if I had it my way, I'd play every day, but it wouldn't be anything. I mean, I just like to go through Chopin waltzes, and that's mainly it.
And so that's like you have the sheet music, or you're Googling?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the sheet music, and then there's like an incredible archive at the library. Like I had no idea that there's like a huge sheet music. It's Dewey Decimal, right?
Right. The DVD.
Huge selection of music, and it's like I think the most recent thing I got was these Debussy preludes, and it's like a first edition from like 18 something
wow.
whatever. Yeah, and it's gorgeous, like hard book, like
How cool.
really
That's cool.
awesome.
I was
Is
surprised.
this from the Indianapolis
Yeah.
library?
Yep.
That
From the-
downtown one?
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's
that's a
beautiful
awesome
building, and I
library.
could easily like reserve it, but it's so much more fun to like go up and
see
Oh,
what's
yeah.
there.
pick it out. Yeah.
Super cool.
Are the libraries open in Indy? Because they're not open here.
I don't think so. I've been able to go in to renew books and turn them in, but I don't think you're allowed to walk around
Yeah,
in them
it seems
yet.
the same here. You can reserve and pull books. And,
Yeah.
I think pick them
no
up.
exploring.
Yeah, but I just want to wander.
I know.
But I was
that's the best
surprised with
part
that.
of it.
You said like classical music. I almost expected you to be like, the yeahs or something like
Well,
that.
we did a lot of that too.
Yeah,
But your
that's-
preference is like getting into some like something like kind of challenge. Like what is it about it?
Yeah.
The challenge, or do you love that style of music? A lot?
I don't think I really enjoy it now, but only because I mean, I've always been someone who I have to listen to something like 20 or 30 times before I decide if I like it or not. And that's how I've gotten to know the classical music that I've played. It's just like after you hear it over and over and kind of like start recognizing like the themes and just all that good stuff, it makes it a lot more interesting. And one of my piano teachers said that you should make up your own little like narrative to the song, and it helps you kind of like bring it to life more. So
Definitely.
I have all of like the dramas of my youth are set to like whatever piece I was learning that year.
Wow.
Funny. It's so cool because it just entrenches like memories so strongly.
Oh, yeah.
Like you don't, music just like helps you remember things. So
Yeah,
if you have attached to different songs throughout different times in your life, it's such a, I don't know,
Yeah.
it just helps you remember.
Steve, my buddy Steve was talking about this, that like music, you like it because of how it sounds and what you think, but it's also so much tied to how you felt when you first heard it and where you were in life, and like it's tied to a memory almost always, you know. I mean, obviously you hear new music sometimes and you either like it or you don't, but like the music we love like is also tied to sort of a place and a memory and a feeling. It's more than just like it sounds good. I don't know.
Well,
It's
that's
interesting.
why I can't answer which Yeah Yeah Yeahs album is my favorite, because when I was 16 and Fever to Tell came out, it meant everything in the world to me. But I felt the same way about It Splits and even
Lux Prima.
Lux Prima. I'm obsessed. We have that record, and it is
Gotta put that on.
it is the
later.
like it?
best.
Yeah.
It's just
So good, right?
amazing. It's so buttery, and she's been doing more and more like ethereal things and less of like the hard rock that like kind of, I guess, the grunge that she was
I'll take her
started
anyway
out
I can
as.
get her.
Same.
Like,
Same, and I love
don't
that
care.
she never was like, oh, you know, like we got to keep it. Like after Fever to Tell, all the albums weren't Fever to Tell, like trying to be Fever to Tell. Even some people probably heard it was like, oh, what is this? Like this isn't. But like she just kept doing her
going.
thing and like just evolved. She's like David Bowie in some ways.
Seriously. And then like her collabs and the projects she's taken, like Where the Wild Things Are album
Yeah.
is phenomenal. And then there was a song she did on Frankenweenie album.
it's like Moon Song,
Strange
right?
Love, I think it's called.
Oh no,
It's
Moon
like-
Song
What's
is from
Frankenweenie? Was that like a cartoon?
That's
Yeah,
I
it's
saw
an
it. It was
animation.
devastating.
It is.
like it's sad.
I saw it in the theater.
Well, I mean, it is about like the
Was it
ghost
really for
of a dead dog.
Frankenweenie?
Yeah, I was in that one. It's hard to find though. That album is like kind of hard to find, and
I've
love
heard
that song.
Strange Love though. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. I totally heard that. I was
Super
thinking of the
cute.
one that she did with Ezra Koenig. I don't know how you say his last name.
Sure.
I
I
don't know
like-
if I heard that.
Yeah.
Well, we need to like queue up all the songs, but
Yeah.
and
then
what else?
Lux
The
Prima
Willie
is with Danger Mouse, which is
that was
really
a great
well
collab,
done.
and then
Yeah.
she did that song with Willie Nelson.
That's right. She did the
What was it called?
Under Pressure. the
Under
Queen song.
Pressure. Do you know that song?
No.
Yes, I was
I
hoping
haven't
we
heard
get to
that.
one you didn't know.
It's good.
Listen
But
to
I-
Under Pressure with Willie Nelson and Karen.
It's a
O.
cover?
It's
Yeah.
a cover of the Queen
You know that song?
song.
That, yeah.
Under Pressure.
Totally.
But I have to say, I thought there was too much Willie on there.
You
To
wanted
me.
more Karen.
Yeah, like Willie kills it in one part, but he sings like two different parts of the song. And the first part he does is like, oh, this should have stayed Karen.
Come on,
But then he
Willie.
comes in the second one and
He delivers.
he delivers. Yeah, but I wish they would.
I
Anyway,
could
whatever.
feel that.
That's just me being
I felt that way,
hypercritical.
but I assumed I felt that way because I'm obsessed with her. So to me, the answer is always more Karen O. It's like the
Yeah.
cowbell. Like more cowbell, I always want
More
more
Karen.
Karen.
Right. It felt to
Karen
me
O.
like Willie recorded it, and they were maybe like, "Ugh, I mean, we got to leave it, right? It's Willie Nelson. Like,
True.
you go tell him he needs to sing different.
Yeah,
like,
I'm
he's
not
Willie
gonna tell
fucking
him.
Nelson, you know?
Yeah.
So it sounded, I mean, whatever. Maybe I'm totally off, but it's great. It's still a beautiful cover. Karen
Also,
knows
have
the
you
shit.
ever seen her do any of her songs from her closet?
Yes.
Through Space I Fell is like my
Yeah.
favorite in the closet video.
They're so good. It was
But
like
she
a
just-
genius setup.
They have like some hall closet. I think
seen
they
them.
live in probably like upstate New York at this point. New York.
no
They're out there.
guesses.
They're out there somewhere.
You're just picturing where she lives in some
I mean,
castle
I'm pretty
in the
sure
mountains,
she was in
probably.
Brooklyn forever, but I do know she has at least one child now, and usually people from Brooklyn end up moving up. They go up along the Hudson River and stuff. That's,
To the east side.
you know,
like
they
the
move on up.
Jeffersons.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just.
I don't know either.
I'm sure they all do that exact.
Karen,
same
if
thing.
you're listening, put your address in the comments section.
Hashtag this is Karen. I live upstate if
Yeah.
you're listening.
Which town are you in?
It's so funny. In a
I
time
will
where
come
like,
visit wherever you are. I'll visit you.
yeah. Like, it's funny in a time where like the name Karen is like derogatory
Yeah.
or what, but she's like the coolest person.
Yeah.
She's a Karen. Like she's an anomaly.
Yeah,
to
she's
these
the
Karens.
anti-Karen.
But there's a lot. I know a lot of cool Karens. I don't know anyone named Karen who sucks.
Karen's definitely
But a
did
couple
not have
ruined
a
it
good
for
year.
everybody.
We all had shitty years, but Karen's take the cake.
Karen's had it pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
I mean,
never
other people had it
Sorry,
worse,
Karens.
but it's still rough.
I don't feel bad, but yeah. They didn't like this last year, Karen. She didn't like it.
Yeah. Like, it's introducing yourself like, I'm Karen. But like, it's
It's
fine.
cool, though.
I'm a
It's-
cool
it's,
Karen. I'm one of the cool moms. I'm a cool mom.
But it's like
Mean Girls.
they weren't even going anywhere, so they're just at home and they're like, I'm not like that. Like, I know I'm not like that. But then you start to like question, but am I like that?
Oh, and then you start
And
feeling
then
like
they're
a
alone
Karen.
in their house and they're like,
Right.
I'm not a Karen. Why is everyone so mad at me? And then
Mm-hmm.
I could just see you spiraling, you know?
I mean,
Right.
honestly,
Karen's
I'll
right
take this
in.
because I feel like Karen is like the baby boomer or maybe like kind of Gen X name, and it could very well. The next one could be Amanda. Like it's
It
like
could.
a very common name.
Sure.
So I just need to treasure my time before
Right.
this is my name is just a representative for like evil white women everywhere.
Right.
So
What if an Amanda like is like some terrible like murderer or something and like
yeah,
it's gonna ruin your
It
name?
does-
But it could
it's-
happen to any of us.
It's
like-
interesting, like
she's like
the
a murderer but an
psychology of
annoying
names.
one.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
the worst murderer. Yeah, they're
So
like she's not even one of the
obnoxious.
cool
and like,
ones.
Yeah, basic.
Yeah, basic.
I mean, that's obviously
murderer.
not
Eh.
gonna catch on soon.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But it's weird, like names are so cyclical and they trend, and a lot of like based off of sitcoms and things that are so dumb, but it actually changes popular opinion
yeah.
enough
Or
to like
and celebrities,
influence the
too.
masses. Oh yeah, for sure.
like Rihanna or like Adele, like these,
Yeah, Adele's cute.
like Zendaya. You're gonna see more and more of those.
Yeah.
names. I think
Yeah.
that's-
I just learned that the name Madison is from a movie. I don't know what movie it was. I forget what, but it was one where she's a mermaid and someone is a
Really?
mermaid.
The Splash movie?
Yeah, maybe it was Splash. It's some movie
That
that I
movie's
probably should have
great.
seen, but I never had. But her name was Madison in the movie, and it was like she had to come up with a name out of nowhere and like looked up at the street sign and was like, "Oh, my name's Madison." And
Oh,
after
that's
that,
so
that's
funny.
why Madison is a name and like had this big boom in the early 2000s
I was
or
gonna
whenever
say
that
I
was.
used to babysit for a little girl named Madison.
Yeah, it's all off of this movie
Actually,
from like
two
the
of them.
70s or the 80s. That's the whole
Wow.
reason that it exists now.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you don't really think about
That
it.
happens
but
with
it
some
totally
movies, but
happens.
like you never see a kid named Shrek or something like that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We'll
You
see.
might.
It's possible.
run out of
People
fresh
really
names.
like Shrek. Not me, particularly. I'm not a big Shrek fan. I don't know where
Really?
you
Even
guys
Shrek
lay.
1?
Definitely not Shrek. No Shreks for me.
wow.
No Shreks.
I
No
enjoyed
Shreks for
it, but I
you.
will say like there's no rise. Like I don't love it enough to come to its defense. If that makes sense.
That
So
was-
that tells me
Shrek 1,
I didn't
love.
love it.
Shrek 1 was amazing to me. I'm
think-
sorry.
Maybe it was, but like that was every class reward pizza party. It was always Shrek.
you're like,
And I did see that one girl who thought she was cool because she liked Smash Mouth, like sing along to it and like mouth along, be like,
Oh my gosh, Smash Mouth! Talk about a vibe. That is so a particular era. That was like played a lot in this movie that I made him watch recently because he'd never
What
seen
movie was it?
Dude, Where's My Car?
oh yeah.
And
I've
it
seen
is
Dude,
so
Where's My
dumb,
Car.
and it did not age well. Like it is definitely dated and like time stamped.
Yeah,
with,
there's
like,
so
that
many
problematic
problematic issues with
2000s.
it. Yeah.
Well,
vibe.
did you, because I recently had a similar experience where me and my friends in high school were obsessed with Orange County with Jack
Oh,
Black
Oh,
Yeah,
that
I love
movie's
that
hysterical.
and Colin Hanks.
Yeah, yeah. That was a
And
good one.
Catherine O'Hara is in it. There's like all and
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow. And rewatched that, and I remember being the funniest movie I had ever seen. And we watched it with some friends. It was like it was good. It was funny, and like rats. It
didn't hold up?
There was nothing funnier. It held up okay,
Gotcha.
but I built it up way too much.
I
to
mean-
them, they hadn't seen it, and you were like, "Guys, this is
I
the
was
best
like,
movie."
all of our AIM screen names were all inside jokes from this movie. You guys are not gonna believe it. And then like it was funny. I don't
Well,
know.
it is funny, but I think stoner culture is like played out a little bit more at this point. It's not quite as funny as when you're like a snickering teenager.
At the
or
time, it
younger
was kind
adult.
of like, I don't want to say groundbreaking, but it was a different vibe of a movie than you normally see. It
Yeah.
just felt different. And then Jack Black, most people didn't even know who Jack Black was, so that was our first time. And he's like, he's just being so crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, what
The
pills are these?
tummy
What are these?
drum.
whatever. Like everything.
It's
He was
Yeah.
he was the part, like, that's the standout. I mean, I liked the plot. The plot was great too, and it wasn't quite as shallow as like a lot of the movies.
No,
plot.
there was real heart in that movie.
There was
I
some
liked it.
grit
and I think
there.
also it's like coming of age of this guy who's applying to college, and we all loved it when we were like 15 probably. So it, now looking back, it's like I was just about some like bratty rich kid, but
Yeah.
at
Right.
the time it was like,
Right,
wow.
who doesn't want to go to the
What's
school
gonna
because there's too many
happen?
stoners and
Yeah,
like babes
totally.
there. And yeah, that actually was in a podcast with
Yeah, one of the guys
Adam.
from Workaholics, he said he's like, I watched that movie and they're like, Colin Hanks is like, I don't want to go to that school. It's just a bunch of stoners and like chicks in bikinis going to the beach or something like that. And Adam Devine was like, I want to go to that
Yeah.
school. And he went. Like, that's the school he went to.
Dang.
That's where all those dudes ended up meeting.
Where was it?
It's in Orange County, I think, or whatever. It's like Orange County Community College or something like that.
Dang, that was not how the community college where I grew up.
Yeah, no
was.
kidding. California is like different.
Yeah.
Arizona. Well,
No.
Well,
but
California is different
that
than.
one. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
California.
It's different than
Yeah.
most places. Like
People were like,
California's very
what?
different.
GCC, Glendale Community College? That's where stoners and hot girls in bikinis go.
there's, like in any
It
other
was
place,
like, oh
it's
yeah, my cousin went there for algebra 2. She got dual credit.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even in LA or like Southern California, even like high schools are kind of cool and like, you're like, oh, like the Chili Peppers went to this high school or like,
Well, that's
cool.
my parents live right by Torrance, and Jessica Williams from The Daily Show like grew up in Torrance, and she's just like, wow, this is where like cool people grow up. Whereas like there's no one from.
I was driving back from my like vaccine on Monday, and there was like a striking high school with just like this amazing athletic field and mountain views. And I was like, damn, like I haven't thought about, I don't know. I was like, that is just so nice.
Yeah.
Like,
there's
talk
even
about
like Santa
places to be
Monica
trapped.
High.
That'd be good.
Like right in Santa Monica, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, just imagine like that's your high school. Like
oh yeah.
crazy.
I was thinking-
There's a school in Malibu, and like the mascot's the
crazy.
sharks. Like I think that's so cute
That's
when
fun.
it's like right off Highway like 101. And
It's cute, like till
or
one year they're
one,
gonna like
whatever the hell.
lose a kid to like a shark attack, like, and it's gonna be like
be a sore
everyone's gonna
subject.
hate that mascot. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Well, then for the sharks for now.
They're for now.
Sharks
It's
for
like
now.
Amanda. It's safe for now.
It's safe. It's going to be a
The day may
2020.
come when we- yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There's like a movie I've seen where they like always say Christine, but they say it really hostile, and I'm feeling like it's a Seth Rogen movie, but I'm blanking on what it is. But
I feel like Paul is such a common name that I like sort of numb to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like if there was like an evil Paul, I don't think it would affect.
Are there a
my
lot
life.
of like Pauls your age? Our age?
I guess I don't meet a lot of Pauls. Even
I-
in like high school, there was like 2 or 3 other Pauls. It wasn't the most common.
I don't know many Pauls our age, but the ones I know are like legit.
Legit Pauls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we hold it down.
There's some good people. Used to be Salt. Now we're Paul. We've seen the light. It's all good. Love it.
What's that?
Oh, it's the Bible parable. Not
Oh.
parable. It's really happened. Yeah. Bible story.
It's not a story. It's
So sorry.
It's historical.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amanda's
So do you-
like the only person I've ever known in my life that has like legitimate biblical
I was just gonna
knowledge
say.
and awareness.
So you didn't just go to church, because I went to church growing up, but you're saying you were like, you went
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
on church.
Oh yeah.
What-
There's like
what-
there's a alternate reality where I'm like protesting an abortion clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100%. Like that girl exists. She's out there.
What kind of, is it Catholic or what?
Southern Baptist.
Southern Baptist.
Yeah.
And that's one of the heavier ones, right? Those are like,
That
if
gets
you
heavy.
get
That's-
too into
They go
that,
hard. They go hard.
they go hard. They do go hard.
They go hard.
So when did
Love
you,
it. Love that Bible.
well, I don't know how
First-
you feel now,
and-
but you're less passionate now than you were as a
I
child.
am less Southern Baptist than I was as a child, yes.
Was there, do you believe in like God now, or like what do you still kind of,
It's kind of like I still have like I don't dare be like no, but I am like not like yeah. So it's more of a the universe.
Do you find yourself praying?
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it praying, but like growing up in the church, like there's like the infrastructure is still there. So
what do you
yeah.
mean by that?
Like I still find myself like you build these structures for like the church to live within, and I totally have like not holes there, but like there's parts of that that I like need a community to fill. And the same thing in like maybe I don't call it praying, but I find myself like I don't even know what I would call it, like mindfulness. But
Right.
sometimes I think that it's just like me still praying, but like putting a label on it that feels more
Right.
acceptable.
That's pretty much what prayer
Yeah.
is. Yeah. It's like manifesting almost or whatever. It's all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Power
and
of the mind, putting the mind
it's funny
first
like
things.
talking to because I have a lot of like very like still very involved in the church friends, and I feel like if something is going on in their lives, my ultimate response is I automatically want to say thinking of you, like sending vibes, and just sounds so stupid. And so it's like, well, I don't know if I like sat down and like prayed for you in the way that I used to, but
Like praying
don't
for you
know.
still work. It's the same as sending good vibes.
yeah. And I wish there was like a middle term for that, because it's like sending good vibes that just seems so non-committal, and then like praying for you is kind of people are like, whoa, you don't even know me.
Like, yeah. Leave me out of it. All right? Was there like
Yeah, it's interesting.
was there like a moment or a day or a cause to you sort of like drifting away from this like belief system a little bit?
Yeah, I think that like by the time I grew up in the church, the like reactionary right had fully grabbed on with tight grips to the Christian evangelical community. And so when I grew up, they demonized everything that the right now demonizes, and that like socially conservative people demonize. And so the second that I met people who were like that, who were kind and generous, like it just, shattered everything that I had always thought before. So it wasn't hard to undo. And that makes me think a lot
Wild
now.
souls like me.
Wild. No, I think by
Wild.
the time I had already been unraveled by the time that I met you.
Okay, thank
But
God.
I mean, just
Thank God, or whoever, whatever.
honestly, yeah, just meeting like genuine and kind people who the right had or who my church had
Like
demonized.
maybe they're gay or they had an abortion or these things
Yeah,
like that.
you meet wonderful, kind, generous people who what was one like I remember I had a friend and she had premarital sex, and she was so kind and wonderful and happy and just a normal person, and that just shatters everything immediately. And meet people from the LGBT community who are also kind and loving and are nice to me, even though I was such a brat, and would like tell the teacher on you if you said, "Oh my God," because you were using the Lord's name in vain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Sorry to Dallas from 5th grade. I told on him multiple times, and Brandon as well.
Dallas and
Dallas
Brandon,
and
you
Brandon.
twins.
In Mrs. Nelson's 5th grade class. I'm so sorry.
So is there anything other than like the prayers, more or less, is there anything like that you still hold on to from that you like sort of are like, oh, that's the part I like about it?
I think the like rituals of it are wildly comforting. Yeah. Yeah. That was always like taking, well, in Southern Baptism, it's called the Lord's Supper. I don't know if that's used outside, but that's when you take communion,
Okay.
like a time of reflection. And even like in other denominations, they have the liturgies where you pray the Lord's Prayer, and you do the prayers, and you recite prayers for the community and people who are suffering in the world. And those things I still find comforting.
Nice.
But yeah.
So where?
I had something, but I just totally lost it. Well, what I like, I grew up Christian, and like I don't, it's whatever. But I like the morals, and then I also was thinking recently, like I kind of like the concept of like Jesus as an idea, and Jesus is just this sort of perfect, like do your best to be perfect, but forgive yourself when you've come up short. Like that to me is basically just at the core of Christianity, or at least the Christianity I grew up with. And I dig that. I like that a lot. Like do your best, and you're gonna come up short. Like you're just a human. Like, and that's that. Like we're all born with sin. We're all sinners. Like you will not be perfect, but forgive yourself when you come up short, and just keep trying to always do your best. Like that at the heart of it, I love that. Like I'm a I support that. I believe that. I agree with it. What is the difference? Well, like what sets Southern Baptist different from Catholicism? Like what exactly is it that is Southern Baptist?
I don't know the exact like theological history of it all, but I know like they're Protestant, and so pretty much everything that goes along with
all fearing God.
Well, yeah, but also
Yeah, I don't even know what Protestant exactly means.
like I know that in Catholicism, a lot of times, the priest is the middleman between God and between the congregation, and Protestants like just totally wiped that out. That like that the congregation has like a immediate contact with God, and that like he can talk to them directly.
That's how I grew up.
That seems more fulfilling.
I forget what else. There's like, I mean, that's a whole like 99 Theses that Martin Luther nailed to the door or whatever. But
it was getting rid of that. None of these like saints and none of these like we don't need these
there
other
aren't
people.
really
We don't need these
saints
paths
and
to
those
God.
distractions.
Yeah, it was mainly kind of a democratization of like a relationship with God.
So do you know why the Southern Baptist became it's sort of extreme, isn't it? Or are there just extremists within it? Or is the whole thing pretty extreme?
Yeah, no, there's like a governing body that sets like the I forget what the correct verbiage of it is, but it's they hold like extremely socially conservative beliefs, and that those in order to be a Southern Baptist church, you have to go along with like that theology. And they have like different like there are specific theological principles that you have to teach about. But on top of that, there's also this, weird, like socially conservative values that have somehow also been grandfathered into that.
Sort of co-opted.
So, yeah.
Almost by that. Is there a favorite Bible verse that you have?
No.
Oh man. Yeah. No. You don't have one in your Instagram bio.
I don't have one in my Instagram bio. I did, from all of my Christian musicals that I participated in, there was one where we did, everyone had to say a Bible verse from A to Z. And mine was, all have fallen short of the glory of God, Romans 3:23. So that one's always like in the back of my head. But that's by no means
she's
a
ready.
favorite.
Yeah, she's got them.
You said it so fast I didn't even...
Yeah.
What does it even mean? What is it?
For all have fallen short of the glory of God, Romans 3:23.
Oh, all have fallen short. We're not worthy.
Not worthy.
Not worthy.
Not worthy. See, I can't get down on that.
But in also some ways, like, we're not worthy. Like, we're so small. We don't matter. We're not that as special as we like to think we are. Like, science tells us we're not worthy. We're floating on a speck of dust in, like...
I agree. And that is very humbling.
Nothing, It's like, we're not worthy.
But there's... I agree, but I also believe that there's, like, life and, therefore, holiness in everything. Every blade of grass, every bit of sand, every... animal, creature, bug. I mean, it's why I don't try to kill bugs or animals. I don't eat animals.
Yeah.
I think every single tree is holy, but that's not accounted for in any religion that I've ever encountered.
I like that though. Like when we were talking in Cellulita to that guy, he was like, if nothing matters, everything matters.
Exactly.
And that was like, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like mathematically, if nothing matters, so everything matters the same.
Yeah.
That means everything matters. That means like Earth exploding and you stepping on an ant is just as bad. Also just as not bad. But like as much as you don't want Earth to explode, like you should not want to step on an ant and kill it. It's interesting. It's weird. Like I sort of do this, like I have this like nothing matters general mentality. Like the Earth could explode. It really doesn't change. It changes my life a lot, but it doesn't really change anything. Like everything is so big, it would change almost nothing.
Yeah, in the grand
it
scheme
really
of
wouldn't
things,
matter.
sure.
But at the same time, I think it's important to be a good person and like not be a bad person. And good is still good, bad is still bad. And like, what is that if nothing matters? So that's kind of where I land on like God, or just, God being this, like, there's something bigger than us. There's something more than what we're seeing. And like, why is it good to be good and bad to be bad? Which I do believe is true, but why?
I mean, I believe because we're living in a world where we depend on symbiotic relationships and we depend.
So it's evolutionary.
I think so. I mean, we just need to. It's like the golden rule, which pretty much exists in almost every religion, just said and described differently. You're supposed to take care of other things to find value and meaning. And it's like sort of the mission in life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Like you're supposed to invest, like leave the world better than you found it, I think.
Right. But why does that matter?
Why does it matter?
Yeah, or does it matter?
I think it matters because humans are generally like egomaniacs and we need to find meaning in our trivial lives. But my problem is that religions for so long have owned, like, they've just monopolized morality and what it means to be good.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I don't like that you have to be subscribed to a certain narrative in order to be saved or respectable or like any of that. That irks me.
I agree. Like, if you steal from me, that bothers me. So it's not a leap for me to assume if I steal from you, you're not going to like it.
Sure.
So, like,
Don't steal.
let's not steal. Let's agree. Like,
I'll agree.
I didn't need God or Jesus to come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Like, a priest didn't need to tell me that. It's sort of obvious. So, yeah, I agree. When people say, like, without religion, society would have no morals. I don't agree. I think we get there no matter what.
I feel like it's all about finding your own sort of way to cope with your mortality. That's what I always think about is like, you know, a lot of times I think about even when it's like, because sometimes I do ask myself like, hey, like, do you believe in God? And it's like, it's more comfortable for me to just kind of push that into like the kind of, you know, the shadows and be like, we don't need to think about that, you know, conversation. We're just going to like push that to the side and keep on marching and, you know, do what we need to do. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing with, I mean, people who have a heaven narrative, they find it like wildly comforting. Like everyone that I know who has lost someone or even like when, I had a really young cousin of mine pass away, and when it's like, oh, well, they're restored now, and they were in this terrible accident, and now, you know, they're with friends and family, and they're looking out for you. Like that narrative in itself is so comforting. And that's just for one scenario. You know, you think about how people just go through life basically suffering. It's just like never ending suffering. It's getting worse and worse as we get older, you know, or we like our bodies start shutting down. And so that narrative that it's like, we're just doing part-time here, they're going to like party in the afterlife.
Part-time.
Like that's enough for people to hang on to it because it's so comforting. And so when people find meaning in it, it's like, it's, you know, that's no mystery that is incredibly rewarding for them.
100%. Yeah. Like I'm jealous of people sometimes who like have a real religious foundation because they're maybe happier because I'm over here thinking like nothing matters.
Statistically,
and,
they
like,
are happier.
If
I think I've heard about that because sometimes that's like me at night when I'm just like staring at the ceiling. I just am thinking about how like it's always me like thinking about like everyone I love will die and I will be alone.
Yeah.
I know, but you're right though. Like, and I don't believe in heaven in that way. But when I watch it, because it's definitely like fictionalized a lot.
Yeah.
Like you see it a lot in movies and shows and things, and it never makes sense to me. But you can see how it just can it's like a security blanket.
Well,
like
and
it
it's
just
like,
really soothes people.
You always hear about like, oh, my grandma died, but now she's reunited with her husband of how many years.
Right.
And I'm always like, yeah, but not really. Well, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Probably not.
Perhaps.
But whatever it is, even if it's nothing, they're there. They're across that finish line.
Yeah.
They're not like shaking hands
They're like
and like
reunited
doing a jig,
in rest.
you know, but like
they're
they're now the same because all they are anyway is like a memory, and now they are sort of the same thing. But if I can say, like, I remember when your grandfather was dying, and we talked to him on the phone, and he said, "Oh, it's all right. I'll see you when we all get there."
Yeah.
And it was so.
It's so
nice.
powerful.
It felt good. Like
it did feel good.
It was, and it's such
as
a cool.
good as it could.
It was like, yeah, and like I don't believe that we'll see each other when we all get there in some way. Like it's a party, you know. But like I love it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why on your deathbed, that's an easier thing to latch onto. I can understand historically how religion was used to provide answers. I think it's still used to pacify people.
Oh, yeah.
It's used to pacify people into thinking that things are happening for a reason and that, just keep on keeping
It's
on.
such a
That's
good,
what it
like,
feels like to
coping
me. Yeah.
100%.
mechanism.
And imagine 300 years ago, 400 years ago, it's like
Yeah.
you don't have technology at your fingertips. You don't have that much
Right.
access to people even beyond your immediate communities. Like
Yeah.
it's just so obvious to me that people
Yeah.
turned to something that could
Oh yeah.
offer that structure in like a chaotic world. That's what
Right.
people want.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
They want answers.
Yeah.
And like you can see that anytime you have a conversation with a kid about any of this stuff. They have a million questions and
Because it's just you want to
Ideas.
feel like you have your feet on the ground.
Yeah,
like
it's
what's
like
going on here?
some
you know?
form
it's
of, like,
hard not to
respite.
know.
Yeah, I just
Super
read this
hard.
book. It's by, I don't remember his name. It's by the guy who wrote Brave New World.
Oh, Brave New
Huxley. It's by Huxley, and he
World. Aldous.
It's yes, Aldous Huxley.
Oh, wow.
And it's less a book as it is like a long form essay. And it's he takes it's the 50s, and so I don't know how much of this has like already been disproven, but the essay takes place in the 50s, and he takes mescaline under scientists' observation, which is the active ingredient in peyote. And then they have like a vinyl record of his entire trip where he's talking about it. And then he requested it so that he could write an essay about what was going through his head the entire time.
Wow.
And it's super interesting. It's wildly dense, and it has all of these references to poets, writers, composers, artists, and of course, like I don't know anything, so I have to look up. You have to have like your laptop nearby to do all the research. In fact, I think it'd be like a wildly awesome project to if someone did like a illustrated version of it that had like all the references in
Graphic novel.
it. Yeah, it'd be really, really cool.
Sounds like a project for Amanda Grant.
Maybe. But in the end, he talks about how his ultimate hypothesis, well, there's a lot of things that he talks about, but one of his main points in the entire essay is that life is at worst like full of misery and at best mundane, and that as humans, we need this like respite from reality just because those are like the poles that we travel between. And that normally we try and access this through religion, and like what are the costs of that, or we access it through alcohol, and like this tears our body up. And that he makes this argument that like safe hallucinogens like should be that they should that scientists and politicians should find a way for humans to escape the mundanity of life through these experiences, because it's this like brief balm to
It's interesting.
the misery and the mundanity of it all. So it's kind of depressing, but it was super interesting.
It's cool.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like that parenting conundrum where you're
Cheers,
like,
everybody.
yeah, so
Yes.
it's like, do you acknowledge what your kids are doing and like put a name to it and say it, or do you deny it? It's like we're past the point of denying that psychedelic drugs have some positive impacts for human beings. And like, that's even why microdosing is becoming a thing.
Yeah.
People are finding that they can have a relatively high euphoric feeling that's pretty stable when they take these like small doses of hallucinogenics, where before they were kind of used as in like more of a binge setting, or so to speak.
It was at
to
least
create, like,
seen
a
that way
bigger
as like a
reaction.
party drug.
Well, that's, I think, historically kind of how it has been used, but
I don't know how much historically. I think if you go far back, it's more of like the
what I'm saying,
Yeah.
like medicinal.
yeah, I think so. Like peyote and things like that. Like these were used for like medicinal. Like Native Americans weren't like, let's get fucked up. They were like, talk to like.
Yeah, well, and they
But it was
talked
still-
about
it was,
that
like,
a lot in the book,
ceremonial, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they said that that's and they even linked that that was like a way of experiencing like heaven and God, were these like wild experiences, and that they wondered if even like from primitive times, if those are what inspired like the the majesty of cathedrals and how, there are these colorful stained glass windows and these like wildly high heights. And those are all trying to capture this feeling of like otherness. And
they even,
super cool.
There was a theory that like, it's called, I think the stoned ape theory or something, that like what really pushed our evolution from like a primate to like more sophisticated humans is like eating the fungus and like tripping.
Interesting.
Because they've also learned that they thought like neural pathways in your brain could never be, if you lose them, they're gone. But they're now learning that psilocybin, like mushrooms, actually rebuilds and builds new neural pathways in your brain. So like theoretically then, like a bunch of monkeys tripping, like would just start noticing different things, seeing the world completely differently. And like, it's a theory that like pushed our evolution towards something more intelligent.
Cool.
I hope that we were talking about legalizing weed and stuff earlier before the podcast. And I hope the next thing to come would be mushrooms.
It has someplace. Washington or Oregon?
Oregon legalized
place.
like
Is it
everything.
really?
I think. Yeah, everything. I'm pretty sure.
They're like
I
ahead
thought
of the
they
curve. Like they have
decriminalized,
like
but I didn't know they
assisted
legalized
suicide,
it.
and then now you
Yeah.
can get treatment for a lot of things with mushrooms.
Because it's so, think about like someone sitting at home tripping on mushrooms. Like you can go over to jail for that. Like it's nuts. Like it's crazy. And it's I think it's a really good thing. The more people that trip on mushrooms, I think the world becoms a better place. More people
agree.
trip.
I think it is a great unifier.
I haven't.
Have you ever taken a hallucinogenic drug?
No, it's on my I'd like to do that, but I haven't.
Yeah, well,
Cue the mushrooms. Thank you.
I like, I've taken acid and I've taken mushrooms. I've never done like DMT or peyote or any of these like bigger breakthrough. And even when I took acid or mushrooms, I never was like gone. You know, I would have been like, I'm in this room, like maybe like my hands look weird and things are moving, but I was never like on another world. But
I might
Yeah,
plead
the people
fifth
I
on
know
that.
who.
But I like, I really like mushrooms now. I want to get into microdosing. I keep kind of talking about it, but I don't know a guy who sells it. I got to find a
You're
guy.
not 3 degrees away.
I'm probably 3 degrees, but I haven't
Think
put
about
forth
it.
the
Think
effort.
real hard.
But I probably could track it down.
Yeah,
But
it's
when I heard
interesting.
that neural pathway thing, I was like, wow, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's so ironic. I feel like we're so disconnected. It's the same with our like food system. We're just so disconnected between how medicine works. Like that most modern medicines come from a very real natural source. Like they're based off of like natural properties, natural compounds. And I don't know. I just think that it's been so stigmatized, but people, I think eventually that will trend a different direction. And I think people are wanting more natural and holistic approaches to things. And going back to the natural alternative is a little bit less scary for some people than like pharmaceuticals and big
100%.
pharma.
I think it's I agree. Natural remedies have like this, like, ooh, like you're like some stupid hippie person, you know, but the medicine you're taking derives from this natural plant. It's just now like more hyped up and more expensive. You know?
It's interesting. We talked on the last episode that hasn't even come out yet, but after
We're
Paul's
banking these, y'all.
after Paul's accident where he fell off the roof, he had a bunch of people like pray over him that were Reiki masters
They prayed from afar.
from afar, but still. And I mean,
Well, so with that,
it's interesting. Like
It's
you
interesting.
could tell JC's moved by that,
definitely.
and you could tell. I mean, it's like, do you believe in this positivity? This like, I'm focusing on somebody, and they're in my thoughts, and they're in my attention. Like, a lot of people believe that you can envision your success into happening. Like, you can envision your goals into happening. So, you know, why not think that that helped someone? Sure,
It maybe did.
maybe it did.
For me,
Maybe it
like,
didn't.
I sort of heard that stuff from everybody. Like, I heard, like, we did Reiki, and look, it worked. And then I would talk to some people like, oh, when we heard, like, we prayed that night. Like, we prayed for you. And look, it worked. And, like, the doctors were like, look, I kick ass. Like, and it worked. And then I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm just going to have this. I'm going to, like, heal myself with my mind. Because I had a friend who told me she beat cancer with her mind. And look, it worked. You know, so, like,
Self-affirming
did it all
properties
work?
or realizations.
Did one of it work and other things not work? It's all possible. But when I hear stuff like that, it's like, it's maybe, but to me, it's not definitive. And maybe that's like pessimistic, but that's how it's like, maybe. Maybe the prayers worked. Maybe the Reiki worked. Maybe my mind worked. Maybe the doctor worked. Maybe some combination or all of it or whatever.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, I think a lot of it sounds wacky. And maybe it even like is confusing because I can't have faith in like religion, but how could I have faith in this sort of cosmic wave of things? But again, I just sort of look at beings as being so interconnected, whether we realize it or not, that it's like, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to describe.
I personally don't think manifesting is like the universe listened to you and the universe gave you this and that's what happened. But I do believe like if you put your mind towards something and you believe something's possible, or just tell yourself, I want $1 million. And you say it every day, I want $1 million. Like your brain is going to just work nonstop like a computer, just be like, we need to make this happen because like it needs to be true, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we know like when I hear about most of the new age stuff, it's just like, that's nice. Like, I don't think there's no part of me that thinks that is valid. However, we know that the placebo effect is real. Right. And so sometimes I wonder, you know, if people are telling you, you know, we did Reiki over you or we prayed for you, you knowing that, like, does that get into there? And that's where, you know, that can become really effective. And same thing with manifesting. Is it that it's kind of this placebo effect of like, this is going to happen for me?
It's the fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah. And it's like in the same way I'm sort of jealous of religious people. Like I'm kind of jealous when people like are really into horoscopes or believe in if they manifest something, it will happen, you know, because the universe loves them or something like that. Like in some ways I'm jealous of those things.
Yeah, I mean, community is a nice thing to have, and that is a very reasonable, it's like a need, like shelter, I think.
Yeah, well, like fate is comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you believe in fate?
No.
Me neither. Do you believe in horoscopes?
No, but they're so fun.
I agree they're fun, but
such a
Sagittarius. Capricorn.
Do you believe in horoscopes?
I'm the person who's like, I would never believe in that. And then I'm like reading my subscription being like, I need to look out for these people this week.
Right.
It's like a little juicy gossip tidbit. I don't think I look at it with any sort of like holiness.
It's part of like, wow, you should really be focused on your finances now. And you're like, okay, that's not going to negatively affect me.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's never something that I feel stressed about. Like I don't ever have a reaction where I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Like do you ever meet someone be like, oh, you're a Libra, like, ooh, we're not going to get along. Like,
no, but I do look up like romantic.
I've looked that up before too.
I don't look at it. Yeah.
What better is there to do? It's a long,
check
miserable
out with
life.
the romantic horoscope?
Fine. Yeah, we're good.
You're a Capricorn and you're
I'm a Scorpio. But I think mine might have changed.
Scorpios are my people. All of my favorite people in life are Scorpios.
You guys have a lot of commonalities I didn't realize.
All right, horoscopes are real. That's it.
I guess we've
just
confirmed
proved it. Wow.
Hey.
All right, I changed my mind.
Can't be a Southern Baptist because I'm, you know, an astrologist.
Yeah, but like I get along with lots of people, not just Amanda. You know, like so. If someone else was sitting here, you'd be like, oh, wow, like Libras, like you're getting along so well with this person. It's because they're Libras. Like horoscopes are real, you know, but I don't know. I think it's all it's like confirmation bias.
I think
100%.
You're absolutely right. I don't know. Maybe because I didn't have religion, it was like one of those things that was kind of a middle ground and was kind of interesting and fun along
I've
the way.
also spent a lot of time being like, which character from Clueless are you?
Yeah, I do that kind of crap too.
This is so true. It's crazy.
I'll do that bullshit
Which one
too.
are you?
I don't know. I just pulled that because I was like, that's a cool movie that people watch. When in reality, I'm like, my favorite movie is Emperor's New Groove. Such an easy
Emperor's
one.
New
Watched
Groove?
that recently.
That holds
good.
up.
That
Talking
movie's
about
so
do movies hold
good.
up.
It's so good.
So funny.
Okay. This is there was some exercise at some like top like 3 or 4 movies, and mine are, I was always ashamed of them, but I've embraced it.
Yeah,
and
girl.
so my top are Emperor's New Groove,
Woo!
Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap.
Okay.
Yes.
Um
L is for
The way you-
live.
yeah, exactly.
Such a good movie.
And then possibly Magic Mike 2 XXL.
Wow.
Incredible buddy comedy movie.
I never saw it.
Incredible buddy comedy. You're going to love it. So good.
So you were embarrassed to
Damn,
say
top
if
three.
someone's like, name your favorite
'Cause
movie,
most
you're
people
inclined to be like
most people are
The
like
Godfather,
Casablanca,
Right,
Fight Club, like
Club's
Amores
a cool one.
Perros,
Right.
like Amélie, and like
You loved Amelie.
I did.
Maybe you just felt
I did,
compelled
but
to
did
say
I
it.
love it, or was it like a cool girl thing to love it? I have come to this reckoning that I liked Radiohead because cool people liked Radiohead.
Hey, it's okay.
Did
We
I
all
really
do
like
it.
it? Yeah, I liked In Rainbows. Do I like anything else? I don't know.
Is Radiohead good, or is it just cool to like?
Or did just
Radiohead?
all like the people I had crushes on in my life like Radiohead? I don't know.
It's like the chicken or the egg. It doesn't even matter.
That's exactly. I guess
Right.
it doesn't. Ultimately, no.
It
Like, and if
doesn't.
someone was like, "Do you like Radiohead?" I'd be like, "I think so.
I
I'm
think so.
I'm sure
Pretty
you." Or is it
sure.
ingrained in my mind that like you're a loser if you don't like Radiohead?
Right, like to say no, like,
Like,
oh
I
wow,
don't
so
know.
you're just unintelligent.
They're like, "Oh, you like you like Kenny Chesney?" Like,
yeah, exactly.
it's like one or the other.
Right. But they're both probably pretty good. I don't know
Yeah.
Kenny Chesney.
I pulled that one too. These are
Kenny
all.
Chesney.
I'm just
Could
like
I
trying
name
to
one?
be
No,
in
you're pulling them out.
main-
What's
the
your, like,
mainstream.
Well, you love Tommy Boy and like Dude, Where's
Love
My
Tommy
Car?
Boy.
She loves like
It
slapstick. When
I
someone
have
like
a
slips and
very
like
slapstick
falls.
sense of humor. That's why me and kids get along. I'm just like simple.
Yeah.
I'm simple in that way. Like humor, it's like that's what you crack me up all the time because you're like all about big gestures, like physical comedy. You rely on it a lot. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's just super dramatic. It is funny.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I got like, because yeah, my answers are normally like, well,
But
there's a different question. What's your favorite movie and what's the best movie ever made?
That's
you know,
true.
so it's like, oh wow, like when I saw Goodfellas, I was like, I think that's the best movie anyone ever made. But like my favorite movie is maybe like Emperor's New Groove or like, you know, I like Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, which is also like a critically acclaimed movie. But anyway, like, but yeah, so it's like, what's the best movie and what's your favorite movie?
That's
Are
true.
different
well,
questions,
and
yeah.
you
I
know?
mean,
'Cause
I
I
watch movies for different time, like different reasons at different times.
Yeah.
You know, like
Mm-hmm.
it's so different. It almost should be by genre. Like, what are your favorite comedies? What are your favorite? Like, I super love doomsday apocalyptic genre. Like, that's
Really?
yeah.
Oh,
I've
I,
always
like,
loved
so stressed
like
out.
all those movies, like
Impact.
Jurassic Park and Independence Day and Tremors and Jaws and all these like movies
I just
where like
only want to
bad
watch the
things are
first 30
happening.
minutes of Jurassic Park and then end it.
I love
It's
those.
too stressful.
So
It's
just when
too
it's all nice.
stressful.
I dig
So
it.
you like pleasant movies for you are like a pleasant
I want
escape
something
to
that's
a
gonna
different
like
world.
refill me. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Because like Emperor's
I
New
want to
Groove, that's a
see
world.
Dennis Quaid
Yeah.
and Natasha Richardson fighting each other over all sensibility and a good happy ending. Yeah.
What movie is that? The Rookie?
That's the Parent Trap.
That's a Parent Trap.
Yeah.
I
Good
forgot that
pull with
lady's
the
name.
Rookie though. I do
I just
remember
was
that
thinking of
Dennis
another
Quaid
Dennis
was
Quaid
also in
movie,
that,
yeah.
and that little
Yeah. I
don't know.
chunky guy.
See,
Or like-
I was more like a Signs girl. I wanted to watch the
Signs was
spooky
so
movie. You
good.
know,
Oh,
Signs
yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
And Signs was Fate, which was very comforting to me as like
Right.
a young Southern Baptist woman.
But I wonder if Signs would hold up in the same way because we're desensitized now. Our minds were there was like a big twist at the end and like everything came together and like
Yeah.
all these crazy things. But like now, that's every movie. If you showed someone Signs now who had never seen it, they'd probably be like, oh yeah, like oh what? Like it's predictable.
Yeah,
They'd
should
know
try
it. They'd
and
see
like
it all coming.
conduct that. You got to track. We got to track someone down who
If
hasn't
you haven't seen
it.
Signs, 8 of you.
let us know.
Yeah.
Write down in the comments. Let
Next,
us know.
yeah,
Karen O.
hashtag-
If you haven't seen Signs, Karen O, give us your address. We'll come. We'll watch Signs.
We'll make
the
the
whole-
popcorn.
Yeah.
We'll do whatever.
Yeah, we'll
Bring
do a whole
mushrooms.
thing.
We'll go to whatever
Yeah, yeah,
town.
we'll trip. Yeah, we'll do it all. We will do it all. But yeah, we had a friend in college who had never seen Austin Powers, and we were
that's
like,
great.
you know, oh my, it's the funniest movie. And she's like, I know, that's what I've heard. I just never saw it. And like after a year, we're like, we're doing it. And we like everyone came over, like it was like an event. And then it like
Fizzled
Yeah.
a little bit.
it's not. I mean, it looks way shittier than you remember. It looks like an SNL sketch. Like the sets, the production
Did it
quality.
start off of an SNL sketch?
I don't even think it ever was an SNL sketch. But it looked like you can just clearly see like the soundstage. You know, like you can clearly.
Oh.
It looks like shittily built, and like she was like, yeah, it's okay. You know.
I think there's a difference between when you experience it like collectively as a culture and everybody's talking about it and
Yeah,
everybody's
that's
affirming that
the
it's
Napoleon
a good
Dynamite
right?
phenomenon
versus
Yeah.
after
Yeah,
you
I
just
wonder.
have heard all the hype
That's
and then
true.
you're just left with like your own interpretation. But I think that I can picture movies like that I was even looking at pictures of it today, like from the Labyrinth, where it was like almost dated at the time in a way. I guess it wasn't, but like with David Bowie, did you ever see that? And Jennifer Connelly?
I haven't seen Labyrinth and I haven't seen Austin Powers.
Oh, well, I can't recommend Austin Powers too strongly.
I know it's the same.
And I've never seen Labyrinth.
Recommend the Labyrinth. It's weird. It's really weird, and it was weird back then. And so I don't know. It's almost like if you're in on it at the time, it starts to feel right versus you just sort of feel like you missed the boat. I think that happens a lot. Like I saw Waterworld decades too late, and people love that movie.
No, people don't love
hate
that.
I thought that was
movie.
supposed to be like
Oh,
a
I don't know.
classically like panned bad
That's like
movie.
Horrible. It
It
is
like
so
is
bad.
Doesn't just
the
all
biggest
take
flop in
place
like
in the
Hollywood
water?
history
Okay,
almost. It's
okay.
like the most
So
expensive movie that did the
Okay.
worst.
Well,
Or
I
it
know
was, at
why.
least.
It was atrocious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
I
maybe I'd love
love movies like that. Like I love
Stressful
you're
movies.
Like you're stranded out there in the ocean. You have no
believe
more
you like
land. You
that.
have to live on the water world. Like tough times. I like that. But this one, like I was left behind. It was just not working.
Yeah, I've still never seen Waterworld.
Yeah.
But maybe we should
Well,
watch
after
it.
that endorsement.
Yeah,
Wow.
Well, but I
can't
like
wait.
shitty movies. Like
I love
especially
shitty movies.
expensive shitty movies like Justice League. Have you seen that?
No, but I've
So
heard
bad.
about the 4
And
hour
I just was like,
cut.
oh, like the awkward, cringy, every bad decision. Like I'm just like, this is so great.
That's the way I feel about sci-fi. Like I'm just so excited to see like The Rock and San Andreas Fault. You know, like
Okay.
it's out of control bad. Like there's 100 times in each movie where you're like, you'd be dead, and you just like over and over again get so mad. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I really like that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, don't stress me out. I get stressed out enough on my own.
Yeah.
Do you stress about? Well, we did talk about this actually. You stress about the fate of our climate and the world.
Yeah.
Earth.
Yeah.
You're worried about Earth.
Did you watch the Greta documentary?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
No.
Go back to.
And is this you're worried that the environment specifically, or like society?
Like both. I just feel like everyone is doomed.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
But in what way? I mean, everyone's already.
I think
always
like
been
literally doomed. Like humanity is doomed because we are not going to address, because capitalism has killed any chance we have at addressing like the climate problem. I think that like even if we get there, it'll be like way too slow, way too late. There's going to be so many like climate refugees. We're going to treat them like crap.
Will save us.
Yeah, the Rock will save us. Yeah, well,
No, I feel you. I know it's dire.
I just have no faith. Like, I feel like the people who are rich enough to make any type of influence would rather have their money, and so they've convinced like all of the whole entire voting bloc that it's fake. So many smart
with
people
you.
think global
Sure.
warming is fake.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
so with you. It's horrible.
Or just that it's not man-made, and we're not making
Right.
it worse. We're
The-
not
like,
causing. We're not the
How
problem.
vain are we that we think we can impact the
But then it's
health
like,
of
so
the
are you
earth?
saying like, is pollution bad? Like, and like most people agree, like, yes, you should not pollute. It's like, well, why is it bad? What's so bad about pollution? That it has no effect?
Yeah.
That's what's bad? If it's bad,
well,
like,
you're,
there's an effect,
seeing that
you
like
know?
the coral reefs are going to be gone in like 2 years or something. That not 2 years. That was
Yeah.
grabbed that. But
I do like. I think we will figure it out. I think maybe it'll be like technology, and even perhaps capitalism would be what can save what has been ruined by capitalism. Because if someone makes something that's able to fix the problem or get us to a different planet or whatever, like we're gonna jump on that, you know, and like it'll be.
like rich people will jump on that. Oh my gosh, I'm
Well,
sorry.
that's true.
This
Oh
is my,
wow.
you have epilepsy alarm. I should take my epilepsy medication.
Please do.
Oh yeah, maybe
No flashing
take
lights.
that.
Just hop over.
Epilepsy medication break. So anyway, we're all doomed. That's where we left
Everything's
off.
absolutely
We're all gonna
fucked.
die. So you think humanity will end, or just a lot of people are gonna die and it's gonna be really hard, and the rich will live and the poor will die,
Yeah, I feel like if you're
or the
not,
poor will get poorer and the rich will get rich.
yes, and they will like live a life of misery.
In some ways, you may be right, at least in the short term. But I just have whatever. I'm stupidly optimistic.
See, I'm envious of that. Like I mean, I'm optimistic in like everyday life, but not long term.
Long term, I'm super optimistic. Like,
That makes me feel better though.
Good.
Like
This
even
is
though
like
like
religion.
you're not
This
gonna
is-
convert me, but it
Right.
makes I feel like we're evening it out a little
Good.
bit.
He
Yeah, a little
hasn't
balance.
converted me yet, but I do find it comforting. I wish I could offer you the same sort of peace, but yeah,
don't need it.
he's the visionary in this relationship.
Nice. No, I'm like
It's
I
hard
could be
for
I
me.
could be totally wrong. This might all crash and burn. We might be living on the street.
I tend to panic as well.
But I think it's also like there's a part of it it's like preparing yourself. Like if I prepare for the worst, then anything that's not the worst is like it's okay. It's
I
chill.
know.
I was talking about this with someone recently. Like pessimism is almost like the key to happiness because you predict a
Right.
bad
It's so
outcome.
sad.
Just have
If
like
it happens,
really
you're like,
low
I knew it.
expectations.
I knew it. You're right. So that's a
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen, you're relieved. And it was like, wow, unexpected good outcome.
Yeah.
I think the genius is really like learning how to enjoy even your suffering, right? Like learning how to identify your emotions as being fleeting and passing by and circumstantial and not actually let them get any sort of arousal out of you. And I mean, I'm not even anywhere close
Yeah.
to doing any of that, but
I mean, I think
think
that's
that's
great
the
for
truth.
people with like not real problems. But
no,
I don't know.
I mean
always
that's
think
what
about, like-
monks do, and like
yeah.
I don't know,
but
a lot of holy.
I think it's like kind of a
people.
privilege though to try and be like, I'm gonna enjoy my suffering, but my suffering is like not that bad. Just
Some
mostly
I don't
suffering is
know.
worse
I-
than others.
I know
For sure.
you always hear about people like this, and I have like one man who's like coming to mind, and he experienced a tragedy that I can't even fathom, and he is one of like the happiest people I know, and like positive people I know. And sometimes I don't know. So maybe it's you see what you want to see, and that's what's affirming in this case for me. But it's like I don't know. He just has this blind faith, and even after experiencing the low of like losing your wife, your pregnant wife, like you could still, have a new family and just make space for all the love to come back and kind of rebuild in that way. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, what like sort of a way to find the good in your suffering, like I don't want, my goal isn't a good life. It's more a good story. Like I want to be able to tell a good story when I'm like 85 years old and some kid is sitting on my lap and he's like, Grandpa, like, whatever. Like I have a cool story to tell. And if that's your goal, when something really bad happens, like I fell off a roof, I'm laying on the ground, like all my shit is broken, like, but in my head, I was thinking like, this is a good story, So like it's a bad event, but it's a good story. And I feel like that's part of, I think, what helps me stay positive is that
You can
when
write it
something's
in.
bad, it's a bad thing, but it makes for a better story. Bad things, like a story where it's just like everything was great and then it was perfect, yay. That's a terrible story. That's like, who wants to hear that? Who are you going to tell that to? Who's interested in that? It's uninteresting. But like, of course, like I'm lucky that my problems aren't like crippling, like in terms of money or literally my body or whatever, So like it is in some ways a luxury to be able to think this way.
Yeah.
I completely see that. But I think a lot of people do have this luxury and don't take advantage of it to just think, like make it a good story. I don't know. That's at least what works for me.
I think people are in their own way all the time, myself included. Like that saying, you're your own worst enemy kind of thing. I think that's true. Like everyone likes to get wrapped up in thinking that their battles are, against their competitors and these like external forces. But I wholeheartedly believe it's all a battle against our own selves and our ego, and learning to have humility and learning to treat others like you want to be treated, and like, I don't know,
Yeah.
shared responsibility.
And believing in yourself.
But I, Amanda, just to comfort you, I agree that like human ingenuity is a remarkable thing as well. And just there are a lot of young children out there popping up in the world with bright ideas and different accepted narratives. who do see the problem and don't have skin in the game and are like willing to address these issues. So good things will happen eventually.
I hope so.
We'll see.
Will it be too late? I mean,
In some ways, yes, and maybe in other ways, no. You know, in some ways, it's already too late.
I mean, in that way, I think it's good to turn back to that moment where you're like, you know what, you're right. It's absolutely vulnerable. But at the same time, we are still that rock in space. And there's an asteroid that flies by all the time that could come and hit us right now and it'd be over tomorrow anyway. So what difference
and that
do
would
we
be
leave it
a
in?
much better,
Not like we
I would
shouldn't
much rather
act.
meet my end from an asteroid than like starving
At
because
our-
no
yeah.
food is growing and currency doesn't exist anymore. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Oh man, that's a whole nother wormhole to go down. Is like what's happening to
Are
money.
you? But you're not a survivalist. You don't have like a doomsday. You don't have a panic bag or anything
Too lazy.
like that. I'm surprised. Maybe you would
No.
feel better.
No,
if
no,
you
no, no.
don't.
I'm more of a like, there's like this episode of one of the Mindy Kaling shows where she just was like, I just accepted that I'm just going to slowly count to 10 until death uncloses around me. And that's kind of how I feel in an end of the world type situation. Yeah.
I would run.
I'd rather go early and relaxed. Like, just get me while I'm not paying attention, and then like I'll be
catch me
rooting
off
from
guard.
you from the other side if there is one. Like,
Right.
yeah, I'll get you guys.
All
I
But-
got you. I got you.
yeah,
From the
but
other
I'm not
side.
really. I'm not interested in participating in that. Not at all.
I'll be thinking of you, praying on you.
You'll be in my thoughts.
You'll be my thoughts.
Keeping you in my thoughts.
Keeping you in my
Good
thoughts.
Yeah, we'll be sending good vibes from heaven.
That's it. That's the one.
From the beyond.
So I'm curious about epilepsy. Can I ask you about epilepsy?
Epilepsy is like a
yeah.
bitch.
Yeah,
It is
it's
a bitch, right?
It's wild. It's
So-
been that's a good story. Like that,
Hit me.
it's always so okay.
She might need a refill.
Oh
on
yeah,
that.
let me
Top you off now. So now we are drinking the apple cider Buddy Buddy
Natty wine.
from Wine and Eggs. This episode brought to you by Wine and Eggs.
I wish.
All right.
Thank
so
you.
your epilepsy.
Wine and eggs. So
Epilepsy.
story.
Your journey
I'm-
with epilepsy.
I'm your friendly neighborhood epileptic. I was in high school, maybe, and we were talking about deja vu with my friends. And they're like, yeah, it's so weird when you get deja vu. And I said, yeah, it's crazy because like sometimes your heart is beating really fast and your brain gets like fuzzy. And then like maybe I'm going to pee myself. And then you're like, whoa, I forgot I was alive. And my friends are like, excuse me? That is not deja vu. That's not deja vu.
I don't know what that is.
Perhaps you should see a physician about
Oh my
this
God.
experience. And I was kind of like, oh, well, we'll just suppress that down with everything else and not.
This is in high school?
Yeah. Yeah. And it had been, this deja vu had been happening to me since at least junior high. Like, I
my
remember
gosh.
having this like heart beating, maybe I'm going to pee my pants, like, am I alive feeling in the locker rooms, like when I was changing out for PE in junior high. And so they advised me to perhaps, ask someone else about this, but that was like, oh, that feels scary to me. So I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen.
Right.
And then it went away for most of college. And then it kind of came back towards the end. And I was at a company lunch and my boss turned to me. I started my weird deja vu feeling. And he said something to me and I was like, I understood every word that he said, but I cannot put it together and I have no idea what he's saying to me. And I knew that this was happening. And so I just made my best guess at what I was like, he's probably asking me if I want to if I'm ready to order. And so I just said, yeah, oh yeah. And he looked at me like, and then just kind of turned back. And so I was like, so I didn't understand what that person just told me. And I guessed an answer. It was not the correct answer. So something about me cannot
Awkward.
process language right now.
Wow.
And that sounds like a brain hemisphere
But
thing.
you're having these thoughts in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, in the moment, I'm like, I think that they're trying to tell, like, no, I knew that you were speaking to me.
You're
But I
clearly
couldn't-
Right.
communicating.
You're like,
Yeah.
that normally works. Something's
Yeah.
wrong.
Normally, I speak this well, and what I remember is that I remember I recognized the individual words, But because it wasn't like I knew that he wasn't speaking gibberish to me, but I couldn't put them together. And I knew that was weird. And I knew that I was like, say something, Amanda. So I was just like, yeah. Or like pepperoni or something. And I have no idea.
Take the pepperoni.
Like he might have been like, how's your project over on South Loop?
Like, hey,
but I could have been like,
uncle feeling?
Mushroom.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Oh my God.
And so that was when it was like, okay, so I like legit need to go to the doctor. And then I started thinking about all of these other things that I like knew in the back of my head always that there was like something not right up there.
Wow.
But it just was terrifying. So I just decided to forget about it. Like once I started thinking about it, I remember being at the gym with my boyfriend and him asking, he like also was like said something to me. And then later in my head, I had heard him sing me a little song. And I was like, did you just sing a song? And he was like, no, I said, where are you parked? And I was like, things like that. So I was like literally hallucinating things happening. But it was one of those things that I was like, I don't need to see a doctor. Like, it'll be fine.
Just shake it off. You know?
Yeah, I'd be like,
get your
crazy daydream I just had.
said crazy deja vu.
Yeah, typical deja vu.
So, okay, sorry, keep going.
Oh, so I finally went to the doctor about it, and
You have deja vu.
and it's funny, like, well, and imagine like telling a doctor that, being like, "How long have you been experiencing this?" And you're like a couple of 10 years,
Right. All life.
It's chill.
Maybe
it's
like
cool.
1 or 2 or 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
1 or
And
2 or 10.
so I went and saw like my general physician, and she was like, okay, so we're sending you to a neurologist. And so I had an EEG, which is where they strap all these electrodes to your head.
Oh.
They measure out your head where like different parts of your brain are. They mark up all on you with these markers, put this goo on you, stick the
those
electrodes
things,
to your
yep.
brain, and basically you
blast
go
you.
through these series of tests, and they try and piss off your brain. And so you're not supposed to sleep before, so you're supposed to be like so tired, so out of it. And then they make you hyperventilate for like 3 minutes, and so you just sit there and you're like, and it starts. It's like
You
really
panic,
trippy.
your body
Stressing out your
panics.
brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then after that, you sleep, and you're like, they're hoping that you'll fall asleep since you're so tired. And they measure your brain waves, and then at the end, they put a strobe light like right here, and they just strobe light you. And they're trying they're basically trying to induce a seizure so that they can measure it with the electrodes.
Wow.
And so I did that, and it was wild, and especially because I've always
Did you
been.
have a seizure?
Yes. I didn't know I did, but I definitely remember like my leg kind of kicking up, which was really freaky because I've never had any like physical manifestations of a seizure other than thinking I was going to pee myself. But that's also, I don't know if that's an official symptom or just special for me. I don't know.
Just a little. That's an Amanda original right there. yeah.
OG original. And then the doctor came in. And also no one told me, no one was like, we're testing you for epilepsy. They were just like, we're doing this thing for your deja, for me. And I've just been calling it my deja vu this entire
For your
time.
extreme deja vu.
Yeah. And my acute deja vu. And so she was like, well, I have good news and bad news. And I was so scared. And I went alone. And then like my boyfriend had just moved to Indiana for medical school. So like I think normally I would have had him come, and like my best friend didn't live in the country at the time. So I went by myself for all of this. And it was really scary. And she was like, the bad news is you can't drive for 3 months. Here's your pill. You take this twice a day now. And she left.
Wow.
And like as she was walking out the door, I was like, "Hey, like what's wrong with me? What's like, what do you call this?" And she was like, "Epilepsy," and then left. And so I was just like left alone, being like, "I take medication for my entire life now. I can't drive, and I have what?"
Wow, it's like a play. She's like epilepsy, and like shuts the door. And then
Exactly.
you have this monologue
She was such
of,
a jerk. I never saw her ever again.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Rude.
Piss poor bedside
She was
manner.
a terrible doctor. Yeah.
What the hell?
In the at that party when you ordered the pizza.
The pizza party. Yes.
At the pizza party.
Yeah.
Like, So would you just kind of then phase out of it? Like, how does it end?
Yeah, it just stops, and then
Like
and then I'm
shake it off.
totally normal.
Stops just in a moment.
No,
And
it like fades off. And
Okay.
I also can feel it coming on, which I found out later is called an aura and is something that like epileptics sometimes have. And if you have an aura, that's really good because you can tell when you're about to have a seizure. And so you can either like get into a safe place, or like I got prescribed like a Xanax type medication that if I had an aura, I could like pop that as soon as I could. And that lowers or raises your seizure threshold, and it makes you like less likely to have one. And there are other things you can do, like if you drink a lot, like that raises or lowers your seizure threshold. If you're tired, if you're stressed, all of those things like contribute to the likelihood of you having a seizure. So that's why like a lot of like Xanax type medications like can be helpful sometimes with that. Yeah. It's also nice because like even if I am behaving myself or like I'm having like a lot of good days, you have access to Xanax, which is a big plus.
Hey.
It's a win-win.
Always good to have. Yeah.
Always good to have on hand. And so yeah, so
wow.
So
and so
you're
with
getting
this
through.
medication, you take it every day?
yeah, every day.
And you've never had a problem since?
No, I've had a couple. Well, no, I've had seizures since, but I haven't had them in a long time. I think for like the last like 4 years or so, they've been under control.
But it's like quite a big burden because after you have a seizure, how long is it before you can drive again?
3 months. Well, no, 3 months in Arizona, like 6 months in Indiana.
6 months.
Yeah.
So if you have one episode, that
And
means
I don't,
for
and
6
I've
months.
never had like a tonic-clonic seizure. Like they're all on like one hemisphere of my brain. So I maintain consciousness. Like I know what's happening.
I didn't even know there were different types of seizures. That's
Yeah, it's all
versus
about
like what you would picture
where-
if somebody
right. I
collapsing
picture
on the
someone
ground.
twitching and foaming
Yeah.
at the mouth or whatever.
But didn't you, because you've always gone to concerts and stuff, wasn't there issues with like lighting and shows before too?
I get pretty nervous around a strobe light. So if there's one, I just try not to be around it. Or sometimes I wear sunglasses, which is super cool when you're at the bachelorette party wearing sunglasses, being like, can we move away from the strobe light? Hey guys, is it okay if we move away?
You know what? That corner
You're
looks
like,
great
"You're
over
sunglass
there.
girl
Let's
again."
shimmy over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What does
God.
the aura feel like?
Man, it's been so long since I've had them that I'm gotten really bad at describing it. But
Similar to deja vu.
there is, and I recently looked up. My friends gave me such a hard time ever since they're like, "Oh yeah, deja vu." But they're actually I've found medical literature that a lot of epileptics say that it's like a deja vu type
There you go.
thing.
It makes sense. It's like that moment. It slows
You're
you
mentally-
down enough
yeah,
to think.
and when you're like,
"What?
whoa."
I've been here before.
Yeah.
Am I here?
It's like,
What's
and
happening?
have either of you fainted? Have you like?
I've never.
Do you remember what the
fainted.
feeling is of fainting?
No,
One
I
time,
can't.
Do you
relate to
remember
that.
it at all? Like the
I was
weird.
actually in second grade, I think.
Oh, okay, so
and
it's
I would
been
just
a
do this thing
while.
where I made my face red. I was like showing my friend, like I can make my face red. And I just remember like, and this was like the whole class was like walking down the hall, and just the next thing I'm just like on the ground. Like,
Hey guys, it was all an act.
but it was clearly I was not even out. I think it like to anyone else, I just fell and got up because the teacher wasn't. It was no like it was no issue.
Yeah.
But I fainted once walking down the hall.
Dang. Well,
Anyway,
I've
sorry.
fainted a lot for different reasons, but it's similar. It's brief, but it's similar to like right before you're gonna faint. You like know something. You're like, whoa, something is off.
Is
Sure,
it like
sure.
when you're nauseous? Like I know when I'm gonna
No.
puke. And it, like, it's
Or
like
when
a
you stand
jarring
up too
feeling.
fast and you're like, I need to sit down or I need to hold something for a second.
I can relate to
is
that.
it that?
No.
Different. It's like when you're
No.
like, what about when you're on a ship and it's really buoyant and it's like rocking, or
No.
not
Seasickness.
buoyant, but like rocky, and you get all.
I would say, or like, do you
turbulent.
know like the feeling when you're like about to fall asleep? You can like barely keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
I feel
Twilight
like
Zone.
it's closer to like
delirious.
that,
delirium.
but like a physical, like I don't know.
Interesting. That's cool.
Well, don't try it at home.
Yeah, I
Or-
definitely
Yeah.
don't recommend. I mean, I do wish everyone could experience it, so I could be like,
That's it.
See what I mean?
But
Have you ever had deja vu? Actual deja vu?
I think so. Yeah. I've totally had deja vu. Maybe.
It's funny the thing about like you wish everyone could experience it so you could show it to them. I was thinking like, eventually they're going to put microchips in people's brains and like you'll be able to just send thoughts and maybe you'll even be able to send emotions, feelings, and even just like, it feels like this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, wow, cool. I know exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
Oh, what if
I
you
wonder,
could-
I wonder if that day will come.
What if you sent like an emotion-gram, And
Yeah,
you're like, I love you. And it
Yeah.
like arrived and then
And
you
you,
got
like,
like
felt
hit
it?
with the dose of dopamine.
Yeah,
For
but
sure.
the withdrawal, not
Yeah.
worth
Yeah.
it.
But then
I
like
don't know.
artists will
You're
be
right.
people
We'd be
who like
hooked.
make a feeling. You'll like
Yeah.
download
I mean, that's
Pharrell's
what they
new
are,
feeling.
though. Like literally, I feel like that's what they are.
100%. It's just it's even more pure. Like art is just communicating a feeling, giving you a feeling.
It's like-
a movie. It makes you feel. That's what it feels like to be in love, or that's what it feels like to be scared. Or
It's like Monsters Inc. And love is more powerful than the fear, man.
but yeah, you'll be able to. I think sell a
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, right? Honestly.
Yeah.
I love that metaphor. That they think that like fear is the way to
Yeah. Well, but in what
capitalize.
I'm saying, you could also send someone fear.
I know.
Like people
Ooh,
will download fear
cruel.
and terrible feelings,
Dude,
even
can
the
you
feeling of being
imagine?
tortured and trapped, and people will download it to feel it.
Well, maybe that will
I
make
believe
people
it.
empathetic,
Some
and
people are
then
gluttons for
they will
punishment.
save the world.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. If we all could feel how everyone else feels, if Donald Trump knew exactly how you feel and you knew exactly how he felt, at that point, like what can you even argue about? You
think
you
I would
get
find
it. You would
something.
understand everybody. Everybody would understand everybody.
Might bring
It's
some things
like
up.
maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't. Maybe before then, someone will just take over your brains and make you do crazy shit
Like
and
the
enslave you.
Animorphs.
You think we're going for an Animorphs
We got
thing?
an Animorph fan over here. Yeah.
Animorphs
Not
was
really
like
aware.
it was.
so,
I can picture the books like because the cover always had like
yeah, always in the
the
Scholastic
guy-
Book Fair
Yeah.
The
magazine.
Scholastic Book Fair. What a trip.
Yeah.
right?
Down
I can
memory
like
lane,
smell
that
the.
is.
I can smell it.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
paper.
yeah.
I loved the catalogs. Yeah.
They're so good.
The catalogs would come and you'd be like circling everything you wanted.
Yeah.
Like there was some like person that was
I
just
didn't do
gonna.
it. I
And
didn't
your
want
parents
to.
were like, oh,
You
well,
hate books.
at least
But
my
I
kid
also
wants
hate
a
just
book.
like school organized things. Like
You were in the talent show?
I was in the talent show, but that's
you
because
were in the talent show.
yeah, but that's
Yay.
because it's
Yeah.
like you get attention.
What did you do? Okay.
But I
What
never did like the magazine drive, like selling like
candy.
candy or whatever.
My parents
like,
didn't let me sell candy. They didn't believe in it.
I did, and I fucked it all up.
Dude, what happened? You eat all the candy? Did your dog eat it?
No, I lost
happened?
all the money and all the checks,
Well, that would be a problem.
and then I never delivered the cookies.
Christine.
wow, you just left people. You left everybody.
I
behind.
literally
no, you
moved.
just
But
like
at least you
both
lost the money
I
and the checks.
moved out of the neighborhood.
What do you mean?
After I did all that, I moved
So
out of the
people's
neighborhood,
like bank
and then I
account
no
numbers
longer.
and routing numbers are
By
just
choice?
floating around Deerfield
I owed
somewhere.
them an explanation that I never gave. But I was 8, and we moved, and then I didn't have to deal with that anymore. So I didn't.
That's a lot of pressure
Was
for an
it,
8-year-old.
yeah,
did you
honestly,
feel-
I was
checks.
responsible for a lot
Yeah.
at 8.
Did you feel like you did something wrong? Like, did
Oh
you
yeah,
feel?
of course. I knew I messed up.
Wow, at
I
8,
lost
that's
all
a
that
rough.
crap.
Remember we were talking with JC about like that moment where there's like a loss.
I know,
of,
and I told him I've had a million moments like that
Felt
that
that
I
way
can
at 8.
pinpoint. I felt that way at 8. Yeah, I lived on Hiawatha, and I lost all the checks, and we moved, and yeah, nobody held me accountable, but I knew. And then that same year, let's talk about more shame. I lied on my reading logs in 3rd grade, and I said that I did my 20 minutes of reading every night, and I didn't, and I felt horrible.
Dang.
And then I erupted into tears in confession, like every good Irish Catholic girl does, you know?
You told the teacher.
I told my dad.
Okay, so you came clean. That's
I came
good.
clean.
That's
I
good.
owned up.
Lying about your reading log doesn't matter. And then you're a good enough person that you were like, I need to tell someone about this, and you confess to it. That's actually a really good thing. That means you're a good person,
Well, that's
not
true.
a bad person.
And then I was maybe shamed into trying hard at school, like ever since. I haven't lost
Not me.
anybody else's money or checks since then. Yeah, it keeps me in line.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Formative experience.
I know. It was
Were you a
true.
good student?
Yeah.
Was that out of fear or out of love for school?
Not out of love. I just was like obsessed with my parents. And so I think like anything to please them.
You have siblings?
Yeah. He's opposite, completely
Younger
different.
or older?
Younger.
He's younger. So you're the oldest.
And I have like every weird complex that goes along with being the oldest, for sure.
You had pressure to make your parents
Yeah.
proud and be a good kid.
100%. My brother, like, he came out to my parents last year.
Wow.
Therefore, I was finally brave enough to wear my septum ring, even though I've had it for 10 years. And that should paint a picture of how our family works.
Yeah.
Like,
you go. You're
that's
a rebel.
bravery in action, you guys. I finally am being my true self in front of my parents. I have a septum ring.
I think that's brave of you, but also your brother. I'm
He's
really happy. Like,
such a champ.
I didn't know your
Incredible.
brother well enough, like that well, but it's always cool when you realize, like, people, when you see
He's
people
like
coming
the
into
bravest
themselves.
person I know.
It's super brave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Southern Baptist. I just remembered. Like,
Right. There's just a lot of
it's like
weight. There's a lot
it's
of
hard for a lot of people,
deal.
but I'm sure he grew up in a religious atmosphere that told him that was the wrong thing.
100%. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and, like,
amazing.
yeah. It's just awesome that he gets that.
We're
And he
a
has
brave
boyfriend.
family.
He has
Yeah.
a boyfriend.
Still got the ring in.
I love it.
boyfriend, yeah.
It's good. It's so good.
Crazy. All right. Well,
Yeah.
this was awesome. Super awesome.
I
Thank
hope
you
you
for doing
don't
this. I know you
regret
had
inviting me over.
you had
Are you
reservations
kidding?
about doing this.
I did.
Was it more? How did it go compared to your
I
expectations?
think it went pretty good. I just was worried that I would have nothing to talk about. I'd be like, so you guys want to hear what's going on in Bachelor Nation recently?
Listen,
I'll
there's a
try
time
and
and
give
a
a
place
hot
for
take
all that,
on
but
that. Also, I have a dog. So I'm glad that
This
we didn't
was-
have to.
well,
highly
anytime
interesting.
you need me to remind you how cool you are, you just let me know. I'm happy to just chat you up. I think you're like the smartest and coolest and most awesome friend ever.
My
thank you for that.
big act is very successful, man.
Yeah.
No, I think even just from the
right?
first time I talked to you on the phone, I was like, Amanda's cool. I just knew it.
Oh, wow.
Now I know
You're
it
a
even
bright
more.
girl. You're a bright girl. You're tenacious. You've got a gusto for life, for living, and I love that about
Well,
you.
the gusto in me recognizes the gusto in you.
Real recognize real. You know?
Yeah.
All right. And then with that, ladies and gentlemen, good night.
Good night.
We're going to make some music.
Yeah.